Hey everyone, I'm Little Black, just your average, well okay, maybe not so average cat demon. I used to live in this absolutely amazing forest. That is, until one day, those rumbling metal monsters rolled right into my home. They were huge and loud, making awful screeching noises, and they knocked down my favorite tree. When that tree came crashing down, I felt like my heart just dropped into my stomach. My home was gone, and all the familiar scents disappeared with it. I could only tuck my tail between my legs and run aimlessly through the ruins, from one strange place to another even stranger place. Back then, I was so hungry, so cold, and so scared. At night, I'd huddle in freezing corners, listening to all the weird sounds of the city, my tail fur standing on end from fear. I kept thinking, am I going to be wandering around like this forever? One night while I was out looking for food, I ran into a group of humans who wanted to catch me and drive me out of the city. When they cornered me against a wall, I transformed back into my demon beast form. That's when someone stepped in and drove them away. His name was Feng Shi, and he was a spirit too. Feng Shi took me with him. Feng Shi told me he had lots of companions, like Luo Zhu, who was always smiling, and Shu Huai, who was kind of cool and aloof. They brought me back to a new home. Sure, it wasn't as big as my original forest, but having them by my side made me feel incredibly safe. Feng Shi would tell me stories about the world beyond the forest. Back then, I thought Feng Shi was the most wonderful person in the whole world. But this peaceful time was soon shattered. His expression was as cold as ice. His name was Wuxian, and he was some kind of executor. He was incredibly powerful. Those gleaming metal pieces moved like they were alive, flying around at his command. Feng Shi and the others were no match for him and got hurt pretty quickly. I freaked out and tried to rush in to help, but he just grabbed me with one move, picking me up like I was just an ordinary little kitten. "Let me go, you meanie!" I struggled with everything I had, scratching with my claws and biting with my teeth, but he was like a mountain, completely unmovable. Feng Shi and the others tried to save me but got trapped by those metal pieces. I watched helplessly as Wuxian carried me away, feeling panicked, angry, and terrified all at once. We drifted together on the sea, riding one of those big ships that goes woo-woo. The sea breeze hit my face, all salty and fresh. It was my first time seeing such a vast, endless ocean, blue like a precious gem. Sometimes I'd watch him standing silently at the bow of the ship, the sea breeze lifting the corners of his coat, and I'd wonder what kind of person he really was. Being with Wuxian was torture at first. He barely talked to me. Every day I plotted how to escape and get back to Feng Shi. He'd take me to strange places, like this building called the Spirit Assembly Hall, where there were all sorts of weird spirits. And this kid with two little hair buns who seemed pretty stuck up. Wuxian told me that what Feng Shi and the others were doing was wrong and would upset the balance between humans and spirits. I didn't believe it. Feng Shi was so kind. How could he be a bad guy? Wuxian started teaching me to control my powers. He said I had this special ability called a domain that could devour metal and create independent spaces. At first, I had no clue what he was talking about. I just thought it was pretty fun when that little black orb inside me started moving and sucked everything around me into it. He would patiently guide me, and though his expression stayed cold, there was no impatience in his voice. In the human city, I saw so many fascinating things. Buildings that reached up to the clouds, metal boxes that zoomed around super fast, and signs that glowed in all sorts of colors at night. Wuxian would take me through crowds of people, saying he wanted me to understand humans. I saw that humans could be good or bad, just like spirits. I started to waver. Which was right? What Feng Shi said or what Wuxian said? Later, we encountered Feng Shi again. I was so excited, thinking I could finally return to my companions. But Feng Shi, he seemed different. He had captured many spirits and locked them up, saying he wanted to use their power along with my domain to turn the entire human city into a massive forest, a homeland that belonged only to spirits. He said humans had taken away our homeland, so we needed to take it back the same way. He was no longer the gentle Feng Shi I knew. He kept talking about doing it for our home, but if a home needed to hurt so many innocent lives to be built, was that still the home I wanted? Finally, Feng Shi activated his plan. Enormous trees burst up from underground, and the city fell into chaos. Humans were screaming, spirits were wailing. To stop him, Wuxian got seriously injured. All the metal around him lost its shine. Looking at Wuxian collapsed on the ground, at the crazed Feng Shi, at everything being destroyed, I suddenly understood. Feng Shi was wrong, completely wrong. I didn't want to see anyone else get hurt, whether human or spirit. So I gathered all my courage, and used the method Wuxian taught me to control my domain and devour those out-of-control wood elements. It felt like my body was about to burst, so painful, but I knew I had to do it. Fengxi failed in the end. He exhausted all his power and became a giant tree, taking root in the land he had once lost. He said that was where he belonged. Looking at that tree, I couldn't help but cry. He used to be so wonderful. Why did he turn out this way? The city returned to peace. Then at this world that was both familiar and strange. I had lost a lot, but I had also learned a lot. I knew this world was big and complicated, not simply black and white. There was still so much I didn't understand, still so many roads to walk. Meow! I figured that following this master who seemed cold on the outside but was actually softer than anyone on the inside. My wandering days were over, but my adventure seemed like it was just beginning. Hehe, what will the future hold? I'm actually pretty excited to find out.